Good day to each and every one of you. This is Ananias Grace on Wednesday, October the 16th, 2024. And actually, it's in the afternoon. Started this taping this morning. Didn't have a whole lot of interruptions. It was just me not being focused. But I thank God that we've gotten to this point where we can release this coffee break. Grab your refreshments, your coffee, your tea, juice, water, which is always good, or anything. Or if you don't need a refreshment, just sit down and take maybe a 10 or 15 minute rest, and let's talk for a while. Now, on today, I want to start out with just reading a scripture or chapter or two from the Bible. We'll skim over some of it, and most of it, a lot of it rather, the things that I want to emphasize for this conversation will be highlighted. Now, this is John the 17th chapter. Jesus is with his disciples. He is comforting them as what we call the Last Supper. And these words that he spoke, and when he prayed for them, it was just before, as John says, before he goes out into the Garden of Gethsemane where he's going to be arrested. So this is actually the prayer that the disciples are able to overhear because they are there with him. And I'm going to start at the 6th verse because the words that I want to pull out, well, by the time I finish with these verses, you will know where we are going. And it's John 17th chapter, started the 6th verse. And by no means should you just pick up the Bible and start reading where I'm reading to get the full understanding. Please read the entire chapter of John 17. There is so much information that is in there that gives us an insight of God's relationship with Jesus and Jesus' relationship with us. But this starts, the subject over it says, Jesus prays for his disciples. And that 6th verse says, I have manifested your name to the men whom you have given me out of the world. And I want to go down to the 9th verse, and it says, I pray for them. I do not pray for the world, but for those whom you have given me, for they are yours. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I am glorified in them. The 11th verse says, now I am no longer in the world, but these are in the world, and I come to you. How about that? Holy Father, keep through your name those whom you have given me, that they may be one as we are one. The 12th is highlighted. While I was with them in the world, I kept them in your name. 13. But now I come to you, and these things I speak in the world, that they may have my joy fulfilled in themselves. I have given them your word, and the world has hated them because they are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you take them out of the world, but that you should keep them from the evil one. They are not of the world, just as I am not of the world. 18. As you sent me into the world, I have also sent them into the world. And I'm going to come back to the 20th when I finish this. It says, O righteous Father, the world has not known you, but I have known you. And these have known that you sent me. Now, when we go back to that 20th verse, I want to highlight this because it's going to bring us into what we're going to talk about today. I do not pray for these alone, but also for those who will believe in me through their word. Through their word. Through their word. The words that the disciples, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and even the things that Paul is writing about, Jude, and the different people that wrote these things in what we call the Bible, Christ is asking God that to keep us And that he's just not praying for those that were there hearing him, but that through their words, all who will come to believe in him, all who will come to believe in Christ. And I thought about this thing, and I'm saying, well, he says that I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but to keep them from the evil one. He does not pray that we be taken out of the world. Why did he want us to stay in this world? After all, he was leaving. Why did he want us to stay in this world? And of course, I had to go to Matthew. And because Matthew tells us something in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, or his Beatitudes, that all of those things that he talked about, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God, blessed are they that mourn, that they shall be comforted. All of those blessed are thou. He comes to verse 13, and this is what he tells us. You are the salt of the earth. Could that be why he wanted us to stay here in the world? But if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? It is then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot by men. So Jesus wanted us to know that we are the salt, and maybe that's why we needed to stay here, because salt preserves things. And then how about the 14th verse? You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Then in 16 he tells us, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father that is in heaven. Could that be why he didn't want God to take us out the world, but to leave us here? But he left us here with the protection of the Father. He needed salt to be left here. See, because that salt is our influence. That salt preserves us and keeps us from decaying. That salt adds something to it, because it says, if the salt loses its flavor, then how shall it be seasoned? Because the salt needed to be sprinkled, and we are the salt, so we need to be in the world to preserve it. And then even with the light, that the world was in darkness, so it needs the light. And if the light of the main light left here, he had to have light here. Oh my God, we are the light of the world. And then it talks about not taking a lamp and light and putting it under a basket where nobody can see it. But if we take it and put it on a lamp stand, it gives light to all who are in the house. Then he follows it and tells us that your light, you got a light, you are the light, so shine before men, and that they may see your good works, but not so that we can be glorified, so the Father can be glorified in heaven. After all, Jesus wanted to be glorified. He told the Father he wanted the glory that he shared with him before he came to earth. Before he was born here, he shared that with his Father. And he wanted men and women to see our light, to see our good work, so that the Father can be glorified. Not that we can be glorified, but so that the Father can be glorified. I think God is telling us that our influence in the world that we live in, just as his disciples gathered around him as he preached to the multitude, we're to gather around people and to hear the word. People would gather around us. I thought Christ was that light. So whenever he showed up, there was a difference. When we show up, it should be a difference. If the whole room is in darkness, our little light, we call it let our little light shine, but God never said let your little light shine. He just said let your light so shine. That when we enter in, it should dispel the darkness, the way that Christ came into the world and the darkness could not comprehend it, couldn't put it out, then our light should not be put out by the things going on in this world, but our light should be shining even brighter at this time with the things that are happening. And think about that. In order for salt, natural salt, to be effective, it has to be mingled with the substance that it is affecting. But salt is distinct from that substance. You put salt on meat, that meat does not become the salt, but the salt adds to the substance of the meat. The meat does not affect the salt, but the salt adds an influential taste to the meat. What is happening a lot in the lives of Christians who are supposed to be the salt, we are allowing the world to taint our saltiness, to diminish it. But we are the salt. If we lose our influence, then we're good for nothing. And we got to have the right influence, because, the foods are bland, but then when you add the salt, it tastes better. Now, how much salt you order, you sprinkle sometimes in the natural can be detrimental to you, but you know exactly how much to add. It enhances the flavor. We should be enhancing God in the life of people. We should be enhancing Jesus. Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. We should be enhancing it, increasing that desire in people to want some more of Him. That's what we should be doing as salt, preserving and influence. And the light, listen at this. In order for light to dispel darkness, the light must shine upon the darkness. Now, it is distinct from the darkness. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to tell that the light entered in. And the light dispels the darkness. But if you got all this light, as they say, hidden under a bush, then the darkness is still around you, because you can't shine from under that bush. And you have to come out so you can begin to dispel the darkness. And I thought it was interesting that God told us that we are the light, we are the salt, and then we are the light. Both things are needful. Both things are influential. Both things are needed to make things better. And that's why I feel this morning that is why He said, I don't pray that you take them out the world. No. But you protect them from the evil one. Keep them here in the world. Because they're not of the world, so they're going to be different. Just as He was not of the world. And as His Father sent Him into the world, He sent us. This prayer was for all of us who will come along and believe through the writings, through the words of the apostles, the epistles, things that we read that God has spoken, that Jesus has promised. All of those things are written there for us. We got to read our word. We got to be in the book. We got to stay in the Bible and find out just who we are. And guess what? The more we are in His word, the more effective is our saltiness. The more we are in the word, not world, the brighter is our light. How about that? Get in the word, not the world. Because when you are in the word, you have the influence you need in the world. You have the salt. You are the salt. You have the light. You are the light. And as He said, let your light so shine, that men may see your good works and glorify your Father. Glorify Him that sent you, that made you, that sent Jesus Christ into this world, but He didn't take us out. He left us here with a purpose. And the main purpose is to be the salt and the light. This is Ananias Grace with a coffee break for you for Wednesday, October the 16th. Have a good day. Be blessed, be salty, and be light. And remember, we love you.